everyone. It's Naomi, and here we are at the Firecracker Department after show, where I pull in some of our core team members and we talk about past episodes that I've recorded on the podcast and reflect about things that have sat with our heart, jazzed us, or inspired us to take creative action. So here we are with Camille Adams. She's in Los Angeles. She's in charge of creating some content for us by writing a podcast series. We've got AJ Edmonds, and she's in Toronto, sometimes in Los Angeles. She's doing content creation. She also edits this beautiful thing called the Aftershow. And then we've got Emily Churchill, who's in Los Angeles, and she's in charge of the wellness department and leads a meditation every Sunday on our Facebook group. Hi, everybody. Oh. Here we go. We're going to talk today about, I loved this gal so much, Helen Zukerman. Helen is the artistic director and co-founder of the Toronto Jewish Film Festival, TJFF. And again, I know I say it all the time, but I really could have talked to her forever. She was such so interesting, so bold, so brassy and brave. And I could have talked to her forever. What resonated for you folks about my conversation?
I just want her on speed dial.
Yeah.
Whenever I have a scenario, I'd be like, okay, here's what I'm facing. Tell me how you'd kick that door in.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
She just kept calling solutions. She was like, oh, this, and then she would laugh about it. Like, remember where we had to pin dish towels? And it wasn't like a defeated situation. It was like, that made me laugh so hard. And
then nobody sat in those seats. It was great.
Yeah.
No, I loved listening to her because in any organization, in my experience, that is built on the foundation of a practiced religion, it comes with its own sort of hegemony around it and the way you should do it, the way you should do it. And I just like how she was like, well, if you don't like it, come and talk to the filmmakers. I didn't make the movie. I'm just showing the film. And I was like, you gotta take that energy into absolutely everything.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I also loved that her premise was that for people to talk to each other, we kind of have to disagree and be challenged and have those conversations and find the commonalities. And she wasn't scared of it. She was just like, yeah, that's what we have to do.
Yeah. She had that muscle. She had, I feel like she's had the conflict muscle really well worked out. Not just because of her position, and she doesn't get scared by it anymore. She just goes, something we do. It's a muscle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love the one thing she said was, we'll try it. What's the worst that can happen? I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. To go around life being like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no, well, whatever, Oh, I love that.
My mom used to say that. Actually, it was really resonating for me these days with Mother's Day that's just passed. And my mom would say, what's the worst that can happen? And we're not surgeons. The worst that can happen is actually somebody dies if you're a surgeon. But we're not. We're just creators. Yeah, you might want to write that part down there, Ems. I just want to make sure if you are thinking about a side job as a surgeon, it's a really stressful job.
You know what? On the weekend, I was stressing about a firecracker thing in front of my mother. And again, I was like, I'm not doing it right. And I'm going to make an ass of myself. And I can't believe I did this. And I can't believe I agreed to do it. And I can't do it. And then not 40 minutes later, I came over to my brother's house and we had a small emergency where a family member put a piece of steel through a muscle. And it was not pretty. And it was like, all of a sudden I was like, okay, I know how to fix this. That's a very simple fix. Let me put a bandage on it, clean it out. It's going to hurt. You'll be fine. Then we're just going to send you to the hospital because you're probably going to need about 9 stitches. Like nothing. And I was like, cool. Now I'm just going to go back to hanging out with the baby. And I was talking to my mom later and she goes, so what did we learn from this?
Oh, your mom.
Oh.
What's your legacy, AJ?
Yeah. But that's something I thought about a lot listening to Helen's podcast. Is she was like, well, what's the worst that could happen? Why don't you just do it? See what happens. If you don't like it, don't do it again. I don't know what to tell you. I was like,
yeah.
I'm just going to call you.
We're just creating. We're just humans. We're making mistakes. Yeah. What else?
Yeah. I love how she said she tries not to judge people. And I don't know, I tend to judge myself a lot and I don't realize it. And then that perpetuates judging other people, which I don't mean to. But yeah, just to have the brass to say, I'm not going to judge people and let's just do it. It was just so great to be that she's so freeing, I guess you'd say. Yeah.
Didn't you also love I think they started in 1993. So I think they're celebrating their 28th year. And she's still they're going online with their festival. She's not going, well, you know what? This is a great opportunity for us to take a break. She's like, what else? What else? I'm so enamored by that kind of drive and energy, for days.
Love it.
I love how when she started talking about having to do it on Zoom, and she was like, I suppose I'll talk to you on Zoom, Naomi. I've been doing this every single day. You know, she's like, I can't get off of this thing. Everybody wants to have a party on Zoom.
I know.
We're making it work.
And yet she's like not active on Twitter, but she's like, nope, that's just not for me. I'm doing the other stuff. Like, that's also I'm very enamored by that, with her saying like, I don't need to do everything. I'm just going to do this. And
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree too that it was so neat to see how she thinks in solutions. There was never a question of like, will it work out? It's just like, this is how we're going at this. And that some of her mission seems to be getting to people to connect. And if they're not connecting for whatever reason, she invites that as this is a reason for a conversation, or this is a way for us to grow. Like even with, that's part of what going online made me think about, is that's her just continuing to spin that forward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was so encouraging about, like, I loved hearing her talk about the group that wouldn't host them, I think it was, because of one of the films in a scene in it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And like her response was like, okay, I'll find another solution. But her comment to it was like, it saddens me as well that we still live in an environment we're not willing to engage in something perhaps we disagree with, to be open to having a conversation about it and seeing the other perspective. I think we see a lot of that divisiveness currently, especially in the United States, where you see a lot of pushback on the lockdowns and how we deal with it. And like, I do often think about how often we stop and like actually engage with one another and ask the questions. And I mean, you don't have to agree with everybody. That's fine.
Right.
But listen.
Yeah, we can educate.
Before
it's
you
those
get
people
your
that are like, I didn't like that movie. Did you see it? Well, no, I didn't see it, and I'm not gonna see it. Like, what? I don't understand that kind of logic of like, see the movie and then disagree, but educate.
Yeah.
Yeah, your head exploded a bit. Hey, Emily?
Well, I think she said it on both examples, right? That she was, the people were going against what she was doing. On both examples, both people said, no, I hadn't seen it. And it's just like, well, how can you be so not objective to it, rejecting it, when you haven't even actually seen it,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. Any final thoughts about my chat with Helen?
What a lady.
Yeah.
Yes, what a lady.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Speaking of ladies, hey ladies, what are you working on these days that we can support? What's going on in your world?
Well, I'd love to do a shout out because I do the meditation at 12 Pacific time on Sundays, and Firecracker Cares is supporting the Jean Augustine Center in Toronto for girls and young women to learn and grow. So please go to the website, Facebook, Instas, and the links are there and you can donate.
I love it. I love the wellness department and Firecracker Cares are both new initiatives for us, but I so love that we are having the energy to put towards that. Like, I think a weekly meditation that you lead, everybody's loving that. And then the shout out to charities that need our support right now. It's not a lot, but we can do something. And then when we're finished with COVID, we're actually going to go and be part of these charities so that we can help out on the ground. What about you, Camille? What are you working on?
So I'm working on writing a Firecracker fiction podcast that y'all will be able to track soon on the Firecracker channels. I'm also working on a documentary about the current crisis, about folks who've lost their jobs or business during COVID-19. So I'm collecting stories about that. So,
Fantastic.
And for my stuff, my website is CamilleAdams.com and my film Insta is at Camille Adams Film.
Awesome. A to the J, what about you?
A little bit of everything. I'm currently in the tail end of a documentary I'm doing with Pocket Film School, also about Project Unity. We had over 70 submissions from around the world where people just sent us a minute to 2 minutes of their day and what they're doing. So I'm really excited and very proud of it because we do have this wonderful diversity behind it. And then in the Firecracker department, I'm part of the branding team. So I'm currently working on building the brand book and strategic framework so that we can take over the world.
Super grown up. I love it so much. We're just building one block at a time. If you want to get involved, there's so many things. One of the things I really love right now is Thursdays we do this writing burst workshop where Avalyn Gray, who's one of our core members, throws a couple of exercises and everybody just writes for an hour and reads it back. And it's just a great workout. Like, it's such a non-self-judgmental way of just like, I'm going to write for a minute. And I'm not going to judge it as I go. I'm just going to spew it out, and then I'm going to read it back. It's really, really one of my favorite things. And then I do Naomi Gets Schooled on Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific time, where I get schooled by a little firecracker, a sparkler, and she teaches me how to do something. So I'm really loving that as well. If you want to find out more about what we're working on, AJ, who edits, is going to put our little links underneath our little faces, and then you can go ask us more questions. But you can also go to firecrackerdepartment.com, find out all about us, subscribe to the newsletter, get in on the podcast section, maybe review it, because that would help us build our numbers, and go over to social media, Firecracker DEPT, and tell us that you loved this after show chat, because I know you did, and I know I did, and get involved, get part of the community. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
And now don't forget to go over to TJFF.com and get your virtual cinema tickets right now. They have such an amazing variety of programming, like Hila Medalia's documentary, Trans Kids, which follows 4 Israeli teenagers over 4 years undergoing gender transformation. Also, Nicola Alice Hen's Chichenette, the Accidental Spy, which follows the real-life story of 98-year-old Martha Cohen, who was recruited by the French army to gather intelligence from inside Germany. Or, of course, the opening night film, The End of Love, directed by Karen Ben Raphael. Honestly, you can just go through all the different films and look at their Instagram at TJFFgrams, and you'll just no doubt find a film that sparks your interest, that you glom onto, and that you're inspired by.